Hey, how's it going, guys? It's me, Brianna Bruno, and I have a little video for you guys today. We're gonna do a real-time build, or build with me, whatever you want to call it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna build a tiny URL clone, or I guess you could call it like a Bitly, or whichever one of those URL shorteners. We're gonna do it super simple. We're gonna use Java, of course, Spring Boot. We're gonna use JPA for we're gonna use JPA like talking to the database. We're not gonna actually use an actual database. I'll just use H2 for my database. So I'll do something in memory. Obviously, if you connect this to MySQL or something, you could use any other database. But that's just what I'm doing. So we'll do it in 1.8. I've been using 14 recently. I had this project set up previously that I was gonna work on it, and I did it in 1.8, so we're just going to keep going with 1.8. So we're going to use Spring Boot Starter Web, Spring Boot Starter Test, H2, dependency for runtime, and Spring Boot Starter Data JPA. I've been using Undertow instead of Tomcat a lot more recently. Like I said, this is something that I did set up previously, so that's why it's using Tomcat instead of Undertow. And I'll do a video, I think, at some point about Tomcat versus Undertow and the benefits of one versus the other. But Undertow has been, I feel like, working a lot better for me in a lot of the use cases that I'm doing. So yeah, just something interesting. So let's go. Tinyurl, right? Tinyurl's been around for a long time. And it was also always kind of cool, right? So like you can enter a URL. Let's say you want to go to Instagram, whatever, and let's say tinyurl.insta, right? That's probably there. Insta 1 2 3 4. Tinyurl connect alias is not available. Wow. Insta video test. Holy crap. Okay, so when you go to Insta video test, tinyurl slash insta video test, I have previews turned on, preview.tinyurl. But generally, if you have previews disabled, and you just go to the video test. Okay. Gosh. All right. Whatever. It'll bring you to Instagram, right? And that's my Instagram. So basically, what we want to do is we want to do the same functionality. Basically, you can give me a URL. We're not going to worry about making the front end, so it'll just be through some REST API, right? So you can give me a URL to direct to, right? You can give me an alias, and if you don't give me an alias, I'm going to make one for you, right? And it'll be like tinyurl.com, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it won't be tinyurl on my thing, whatever it'll be, but the same idea, right? So it's basically these three features. So let's get started. Actually, before we do that, right, let's make another tinyurl. Let's just do Google and then make tinyurl. So if I copy this to clipboard and I go to Postman, right, tinyurl works through something called like an HTTP redirect. There's a lot of different types of redirects. There's temporary, there's permanence, but basically, if you get this, and for now I'm going to do don't automatically follow redirects, and I send to here. Basically, tinyurl is telling me that it's a redirect. This is redirect to the preview, but it's giving me in the headers a response of 302 found. No, see what's happening is this is because these stupid previews are turned on. Okay, I want to turn off previews. Previews, click here to disable. Okay, all right. Let's try this again. I guess this is a tinyurl, right? Tinyurl.kindle. Okay. So, oh my god, I keep clicking it instead of copying it. All right. So, same thing. So if I go to tinyurl/kindle wireless, this is what I want to see. So basically, it's giving me a 301 moved permanently. And what the 301 moved permanently is saying is, hey, listen, you hit this URL. Actually, this URL doesn't exist anymore. We're using this URL now, right? So it tells your browser, okay, instead of coming to my URL, tinyurl.com/Kindle Wireless. I actually have this other URL for you. And this redirect is the URL, right? So you'll see here, yeah, the location is given to you. And obviously it's a 301. Now, if I follow this and I say automatically follow redirects, this is actually just Amazon now, right? So we just went to Amazon's website. It just followed the redirect. So we want to do the same thing. We want when an API call comes into us, we want to forward that API call to somewhere else. So let's get started. So I'm gonna make a controller. And like I said, these videos, like these build with me's, I don't know if I would call them really like they're not so much of tutorials. So if you don't really understand something, I have videos going over some of these concepts. If you want me to go over something, let me know in the description. But a lot of these concepts I really haven't touched on yet, and I won't go into too much in detail here. Anyway, so we're gonna have a controller. We're gonna call that redirect controller. That's going to just be a normal REST controller here. We're not going to do anything in terms of we're not going to worry too much about having different endpoints, because basically what we're just going to do is we're going to have one get mapping, which will be /ID, right? And let's see. So this will be public. It'll return response entity, and it'll response entity of question mark, and we'll just call that redirect, or handle redirect. And obviously we have that path variable that we're going to need to take in, which is string ID, and we'll just do that. Now we'll return null. And then we're not going to worry too much about deleting. Obviously, you can go into that. You can make this a lot of stuff. But for now, we're just going to have a put. Actually, no, sorry. We're going to do post. Create redirect. So we're going to have two different things. We're going to have a get mapping, which is going to handle the redirect, and a create redirect. So depending on what is given to us by the front end, or whatever it is in this case, we're going to use Postman, right? Whether it's a get or a post is how we're going to decide how we're going to do this, right? So let's start with this. Let's do something pretty simple here. So if we just said, so if we have a, all right, URI equals new URI, and for now let's just say http www.google.com, right? And let's see, okay. So if we have an HTTP headers equals new HTTP headers, and if you saw here, right, what they did when I turned this off is they passed me something called a location. And that location is the URL that we're going to redirect to. So if I go to the HTTP headers and I set the location, and I set it to URI, that will redirect it to that URL. So for now it's Google, right? And then we're going to do return a new response entity. And in that response entity, we're going to pass the HTTP headers. And then also we have to pass the HTTP status. So they used 301 move permanently. So if I do HTTP status move permanently, add static import for that. So now when I rebuild this project and all right, started. So when I go to localhost 8080 / and we just did it, even books would work fine here. And I'm going to turn off all redirects. I'll send this. So we get a 301 move permanently in google.com. Great. And if I hit this in my browser, it should bring us to Google. Boom. So that's the first, I guess, piece of the puzzle. This is more just how it works, right? So now we have to understand. So number one, this needs to be dynamic, which means based off the ID that's passed into me, or the alias, and actually we can call that alias. I like that better. Based off the alias that's passed in, I'm going to have to hit the database, see if that's already set up. If not, just return to them not found. If not, I'll pass to this one, right? So let's get going. Let's start with an entity. We're going to have to make our entity for this. And we'll just call this redirect. Yeah. I don't like the name. It's okay. We're getting it. We're getting it. It's okay. The name doesn't matter. It's gonna be an entity. Now, okay. So the entity, first of all, it's gonna have an ID, and this is gonna be a generated value, and it's gonna be, say, private long ID. The next is it's gonna have a natural ID, and that's gonna be the private string alias. Okay, and we're gonna do some stuff. I have some JPA stuff here, that's why I keep looking to the side, because JPA, the annotations and stuff, I don't work with them very often, so I tend to have to look it up a little bit more. So I'm just trying to do that at the same time. And then we're gonna say that this alias has to be unique, right? So basically this value, if this alias already exists, then we're gonna say, hey buddy, not in this database, you don't put that there, stop it. No, stop. We're also gonna say that this cannot be nullable. It has to be there. You have to give us an alias when you submit this into the database. Okay, and then what we can also do is I'm gonna make a separate request object, so I'm not gonna put too much validation stuff on here. And then the last one that I'm gonna do is a private string of URL. We'll just, this won't be a natural ID or something. It definitely cannot be nullable. So this is required. And I guess that's fine. I think that'll work. That'll do. Let's go ahead and generate a constructor here. Not that kind of constructor, buddy. I need everything. Why is it? Sometimes it just doesn't like to give me a constructor. Oh, okay. And well, we can have a default constructor, but we also need a constructor where we're taking all these values. So can I have a better one? No, I cannot. And we're just gonna wing it. All right. We won't take an ID because that'll be auto-generated. We'll take in a final string alias and a final string of URL, and we'll just say this dot alias equals alias, and we'll do this dot URL equals URL. I'm not making them final for any other reason other than we're not going to touch them after we do anything with it. Just adds a little bit of, I guess, protection for us. What's going on here? Class redirect should have a public protected no arg constructor as well, which is fine. So let's hit that up, do that because JPA requires that for building it. And we are good to go with that. Now, the next thing is we are going to need a, let's see. We need a response still to, or basically an entity to describe this when we take it in. And I guess we could do it on this object. I generally don't like to put entities with any of that extra information on it. But for this, I think we're just gonna do it Go not null. This is not the right not null though. The right not null. I forgot what that one's called. It's JavaX validations. So I don't have validation. Come from it comes from part of validation. That let's see. Interesting. Throw that in there. I think this has to do with Jackson actually. Does Jackson come with that? I'm curious. Because normally it's just in my project, so somewhere over the rainbow that's coming in. But we'll roll with the punches for now. I don't think we have Jackson. I think that might be what is causing that. No, because it should come with Spring Boot by default. Whatever. Throw with the punches. We're gonna say this is not null. And this will also be not null. So how are we gonna do that? Maybe I don't want to do it this way. Actually, I think that let's keep it simple, and instead of post mapping. Okay, so we have a post mapping. Just /id. We also need to send it. Thing is right. Just we also decide this is gonna be called /alias. So /alias, yeah, it's gonna need to be some kind of request object. I don't like combining it. This is my channel. I'll put a separate request object if I want to. And we're gonna call it a redirect creation request. And basically it's just gonna have these two guys on it. So gonna be an alias and a URL. Boom, boom, boom. Constructor. Take both of these in. And it's just gonna have getters because they're gonna come in. We're not gonna change these. This is the one and done. Hit these both as not null. You better be passing me something in here. Technically don't need to get the alias passed in there because it'll be passed in the URL. It's okay, we'll roll with the punches. So technically you can actually just have this just be a input mapping. And we say how we're gonna so I have this is which means that when it comes in, we're gonna make sure that it's good. Everything's hunky-dory. We're taking it as the request body. We're gonna take a redirect creation request. Redirect creation request. Okay. So, boom, bada boom. We'll go ahead. We'll create this. Good. Normally, I'd put a service in between this to talk to the. I'm gonna do the service because it's just cleaner. Let's create a service and we'll call this a redirect service. And oh, sorry, the package, not the service itself. Create a package called service. Create a service called redirect service. Annotate this with @service so that Spring knows that our business logic is in there. Nicey nicey. Okay, perfect. Also, we're gonna make a repository. Throw a call this redirect repository. That's how we're gonna talk to the database. Annotate this with repository. Other stuff on here. Go ahead and we're going to extend JPA repository, JPA repository. And we're going to extend, this takes two parameters. The first one is saying, okay, what object is it? The second one is saying, how is the ID configured? And it's a long. Is it a long? Did I do long? I feel like I did long. Let me actually, it's long like that. I'm fancy. Actually, no, I just feel like it's a better idea. Alright. No, it's not an implement, it's an extend. Must either be declared abstract or implement abstract method fall off. Find all. No, okay, that's why this is an interface. Boom. Okay. Alright. So, in our redirect repository, we're gonna have a optional of redirect here, and we're gonna say optional a redirect, and we're gonna do find by alias, and we're gonna pass a string alias. Okay. Easy enough. Spring makes this super easy. And then we're gonna have save, we'll already have, and then we'll do a boolean, and we're gonna say exists by alias, right? Because we want that alias to be unique. We could let it fail because it will give us a primary key or unique key it will give us a unique key violation. But I'd rather be able to catch that beforehand and say, hey, listen, buddy, you can't do that. Instead of just throwing some random thing to the front end. It's just better practice, I feel. Okay, so let's create a redirect. So we're gonna have to wire in our redirect service here, right? And we know that you always do it by constructor or setter. You should never do it here, right? I have a video on this. If you didn't see my IOC video, go ahead, go watch it. But that's basically like the Voldemort. You never do that. Technically don't need auto wired here. I like it there. I like to show what's going on. And we have a service here. In the service, we're going to throw in my redirect repository. Redirect repository, again, auto wire that. Cool. Now we're gonna do a optional redirect public optional redirect create redirect, and we'll probably pass that request in here, but we'll get to that bridge when we get there. And then we'll do another one, which we'll just say public create redirect, and the other one is we're going to do public fetch redirect or something like that, or do a fetch redirect public optional also redirect, and we'll say this is going to fetch the redirect. Get redirect. Okay, so let's start with create first because we need to create it before we can do anything else with it. First thing that happens is redirect controller, create a redirect. Redirect creation request comes in. Redirect creation request comes in with the URL. Can I actually put URL validation on this? Let's see. There's Java access. They have validation for emails. I question if they actually have validations for URLs. No. Okay. Roll with the punches. We'll have to figure out how to do that. That'll be an interesting situation there. Okay, so let's see. Great redirect. Right, so we're gonna pass it that redirect creation request. Redirect creation request. Redirect creation request, right? And from that redirect creation request, we're gonna say so that URL probably won't come in real format, right? I mean, we should make sure that it's kind of validated from the front end and how it's passed. So let's just roll with the punches for now. And we'll just say, so create redirect. So the first thing is redirect repository dot exists by alias redirect creation request dot get alias. So if this is correct, then we're going to throw some new, let's say, runtime exception. And actually, you know what? Let's create a custom exception. Package. Let's create a new exception here. And in this exception, we'll call it a, let's do a bad request exception. So let's just make a new Java class and we'll call it bad request exception. We're going to throw a response status on it. And we're going to say HTTP status dot bad request. Okay. All right. So we have a bad request exception. And we're going to extend runtime exception. And not going to give me stuff to do. Sure. So public bad request exception. Give me string message. We'll just do super message. And also, if there is a throwable here, we'll add that as well. And we'll just say super message pause. Throwable. Go. All right. Easy peasy. So basically, we're just going to say throw new bad request exception. And inside bad request exception, we're going to say alias already exists. So it's just good practice. We'll just throw that out. That'll already respond with the proper, proper HTTP status code of 400. And just say, hey, listen, buddy, that already exists. So stop it. Also, those would have already been validated. So if there's any validation errors, we already told them, hey, listen, you got to put this stuff in there. So now at this point, we know everything's fine and dandy. So we can make a new redirect. So basically we can say redirect, and we'll say equals a new redirect. And inside there, we're going to put, how did we do this? We did, it takes an alias and then a URL. So say redirect creation request dot get alias and redirect creation request dot get URL. Now, there could be a lot of stuff around this URL. We're gonna assume that it's a validly passed URL. I mean, you can get into so many levels of stuff where if they didn't give you a proper URL, etc. So let's get past this for now. So next thing is just from the redirect repository, we're gonna save this redirect. Then that will actually, so okay. And then we'll just say, should we wrap this in an optional? We really don't have to. Let's just say, just in case if something goes bad, we'll throw an exception anyway out. I don't think it's an issue. For now, we'll just say optional dot nullable, and we'll pass them redirect, and that should make everybody happy. We could have some log info here. I don't want to make this video too long. Let's roll with the punches. I'll just use a system out and just say redirect request. And then we'll say whatever we get back, we'll just say alright, and just implement toString method on here, and we'll do it here too. So we should have something working at this point. So let's go ahead. Let's see, why are you yelling at me? Let's do return optional dot empty for now. Create redirect was never called, so let's go ahead and create the redirect and say redirect service dot create redirect with their creation request. And we're gonna do response entity dot okay with body containing okay, and return new. This is already new. Return response entity. Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's go ahead and give this the old run and see what breaks, because normally when I do stuff like this, something tends to break. Right, so drop table if exists, redirect, cascade, create table redirect. All right, that all works fine. All right, so now do this. Change this to the good old post and add a body here. It's gonna be raw JSON, and we're values which are alias and URL, and the alias will be test. Send that on over and make sure I didn't break something, which I did. Null pointer exception, why and where. Is that one? Okay, so basically what happened was when I was previously setting up these getters and setters, I left these as primitive longs instead of Yeah, it's a long day. All right, so boom, boom, boom. So this is now working. Um, and if I run this select from redirect again, all right, let's see, select start from redirect. So we have an ID, an alias, and a URL. And then we can test if I do the same one again, should get a bad request. We're not getting a message with it. Find out why that is. I think it's because all right. Well, it's okay for now. Listen, part of life. Message isn't showing. I'm not sure why. Let's just keep moving. Keep moving. Keep it rolling. Okay, so we have the redirect created. We won't insert multiple of the same redirects. And if I come with another one and I'm like google2.com, it also will not work. So we are groovy, and let's get to the second part of it. So we've talked about putting it into the database. That portion is done. So now let's do this part, which is pulling it from the database. So and we're going to do a redirect repository dot find by alias to pass a string of alias into here. We're going to pass the alias there dot, and we're going to say redirect equal, and we're going to do or throw, and one of these boys, and we're just going to say new bad request exception, and then we're going to say no, maybe we won't do a bad request for that. Not, it would be more of a not found. Let's see, related problem. What happened? Not found. It would be a 404. I guess it would be a 404. And let's just do. Okay. Found. And we're gonna throw a found exception, and we're just gonna say, hey, we don't have that. Try making it. Something like that. And then if not, we'll just return a reader. And you don't need to worry about optionals here. There's no need for an option. Let's just keep it easy. So at redirect controller, let's go ahead and do this part, right? This is the fun part. So we need to create this URI, which is what we were going to do before, right? But now we need to create it from the database. So let's hit the redirect service, and we're going to hit a get redirect, and we're going to pass in the alias. Great. So at this point, we have a shiny redirect. Cool. So, and we'll just say we're redirecting here, and then pass that redirect in, and instead of making this URI from here, we're gonna make the URI from the redirect .get URL, and that should work. So let's give this a try. So first we need to post. The test is there. Good. You generally wouldn't want to return the ID to the front end. So now that we're kind of in this, you also don't want to return the entity to the front end. So we're just breaking all kind of rules here. But you know, when you're in Rome, yep, doesn't make sense. Anyway, so redirect, boom, no ID there. Looks beautiful, pretty. Okay, let's go ahead and change this to a get. And now we have our alias here and test. And actually, we're not going to do that there. We're going to do that here. And boom, it's Google. So let's try something else because I had Google before. Let's do YouTube. And we'll call it test123. And so now, sorry, that's a get. It's still returning 301 moved permanently. There's something wrong in there, and it's telling me location is Google. Oh, because it's okay. Yep, that's why. Because it was there. I thought I had a bug. Post. So now if I go here, I go localhost 8080/test123. We go to YouTube. So that's all cool. That seems to all work. I guess that's everything. We're redirecting here. Yeah. So this was a pretty easy project, and it took just about under an hour. I mean, I'll probably edit out that little part where I was going crazy with the redirect ID killing me. But other than that, this was a short little, it wasn't short. It was like 30 plus minutes. So it was definitely a little bit longer, but it was a cool video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Basically, just to go over, I guess, what we did. We have a redirect controller. We're able to add to it. We're able to create an alias. And the only thing that we did that was a little bit different than Tinyurl was we said that they had to give us an alias. Obviously, that's not necessary. We can generate some random ID if it's not there. But it's kind of it's up to you if you want to do that. We returned the new response entity with a move permanently and the alias given to us. We create the URL off of that, and we're also able to take in new redirect requests. So guys, this was a super quick video. I hope you guys liked it. If you do like it, please drop a like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below what other videos you want to see, what kind of stuff you want to see. I enjoy making stuff like this, so if you have any other ideas that may be a little bit of a challenge, it would be definitely fun to do. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day.